Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Wolfpack again with me, Dan, and today we're going to be talking about the game between Wolves and Luton. This is the match review.
We're out for blood. Better run, better run. 'Cause here it comes, here it comes. Better run. When the wolves come out to play.
Right, so look, as you can see, Wolves have finally won a game of football. Never thought it was ever going to happen, but it has, guys, and I am absolutely ecstatic with just the result alone, to be fair. We just really needed a win before the end of the season, and pretty much Luton was one of those games that really we should be winning, Um, and I think the overall performance, we're going to talk about obviously the first half, the second half, but the overall performance, we definitely deserved the 3 points. So that's a really nice thing to start the video on, for sure. We've won a game and we deserved it. After the performances that we've been doing just recently, just to say that sentence is just amazing as a Wolves fan, because this season has become the tail end of the season, at least, has left a very sour taste in all of our mouths, hasn't it? Started off so well, and then even in the middle, you'd argue is probably our strongest point in the season, where we were really striving to do well, and then in the end, we've just fizzled out, and getting a result like this today means an absolute load. And I know, like, there's probably going to be Luton fans watching who, probably thinking, well, it's Luton. You're a Premier League side. You should be beating Luton. So, like, why are you so happy about it? But it could have been any team today. It really could have been any team. Wolves just need some momentum going forward, because we were in such a rut with winning games, scoring goals, and them meaning something. Like, even when we've scored goals, like you look at the Forest game, Cunha gets a brace and everything, but it doesn't really mean anything because it ended 2-2. Do you know what I mean? So this game, we scored 2 goals, and it's meant something because we've got 3 points. So, yeah, let's talk about the first half performance anyway. So the first half performance from Wolves looks pretty good on paper. It really does. 60% possession. That's a lot of possession from a Wolves team. Really, I think we've been struggling pretty heavily with maintaining the ball, and I think we did that pretty well. The only issue really in that first half was we didn't really do anything with it, and we didn't really threaten Luton enough. For quite some time, we were sloppy with our passes still. An 88% accurate passing still seems pretty high, but when you're a team like Wolves, who with 60% possession, really you should be passing the ball a lot better. We got in some decent areas in the midfield and everything, but I do think sometimes we got caught out a little bit too much for me in that first half. A little bit like the Bournemouth performance for me, like not really much teeth about our attacking play, and really just let a lot to be desired. Some players really still didn't look quite at it, but I am going to talk about, obviously, the players at the end, and I also am going to talk about that second half. Was a completely different story. But anything really more we can say about that first half is obviously the goal that we scored. And really, it was down to a really clever bit of play by Jose Sarr to release the ball early from his hands. And he did that for the Cunha goal against Forest, and he has done that of old, but before that time, really, against Forest, he doesn't do that very often, and it left Luton running back towards their goal, and kind of broke their shape up quite a lot. They couldn't get quite into shape, and there was a couple of clever passes in the build-up. Cunha sends a good ball out wide, and Hwang does a really, really good job. He's really good at cutting cutting quickly left and right, um, and he really did a number on some of those Luton defenders that were thinking probably he was going to release the ball earlier than he did, and that led to him finding really. I mean, he still had a lot to do. There was a lot of players in front of him, and he's managed to find like squeeze it through a number of defenders. And yeah, it took a deflection and everything, wasn't the clearest of hits, but the way he got into the box and got himself free for that was a bit like the Hwang of old, you know, from the start of the season, the middle of the season. Like, he kind of went off the boil, didn't he, Hwang? And I thought that was a really strong performance from him, and not just because he scored the goal either. Like, we talk about him a lot more in the second half, because I think all Wolves players blossomed in the second half. I really think that Hwang was definitely one of those. But yeah, a really good move from Wolves. Nice to see us getting a goal, you know, with the team on the back foot and really taking it to that team and making the ball our own and stuff. And I feel like we did that all game, especially in that second half. Yeah, you know, you look at that, three shots on target to Luton's 4. They did have a great shot, to be fair. I'm not sure who struck it, but I think it might have been Morris. And forced a good save from Sarr, diving to his right. And fair play, to be fair, to Luton, because everyone thought they were going to come up and not really show us anything, really. A bit like Sheffield United have done, you know. And they've proved a lot of people wrong. Rob Edwards is a competent manager. You know, they've got some good players in there, and I like the way they play, to be fair. You know, I think they just sort of outclassed the day by Wolves, but I've definitely seen worse performances against us, and I've definitely seen, talking about the fans, a worse away end. They were fantastic all the way through the game, really. So fair play to Luton. I really don't want them to go down, if I'm honest. I think they've shown a really good account for themselves. They've got into got some good results and got into some good positions, you know, where, yeah, okay, with a few more signings, you know, you might hold on to some of those leads that you've dropped and everything. And I thought you'd done a really good job. But yeah, on that first half performance, really, I thought that it was fairly even, really, up until Wolves scored. Very much mirroring the Bournemouth performance, just a little bit better on the ball, I suppose. I mean, it takes some doing to get as bad as that Bournemouth first half, but yeah, definitely not as bad as that. And there was some positive things about that first half. Yes, okay, we scored, but there was some positive things I could see. You know, we played a back 4, and we haven't actually talked about how we set up, have we? So we set up in a weird sort of formation that we're definitely not used to. I know we changed, and that's another thing that I don't think that a lot of people realise with this Wolves side is we do tend to change formation around during the game. So there's some players like Lamina who, yes, okay, he's playing in the midfield too, and Traore's behind him as a DM in this formation, but he was also drifting back and helping a lot with the defence, so it almost became a back 5 when he was like helping either side of these centre backs. And I thought he did a really good job at that. But obviously, again, talk about the players at the end, like I always say. It's becoming like a catchphrase, isn't it, that? But yeah, this is how Wolves set up. Back 4, you know, but could be Traore in the middle, like a solo sort of defensive unit in that midfield, with Gomez and Lamina playing a little bit ahead of him next to the wingers in Hwang and Aït-Nouri and Cunha up front. And I think Hwang and Cunha changed quite a lot throughout the game, which, you know, was a bit, again, it was very much like the Wolves of old when you've got Neto there and Cunha and Hwang, and they were always changing to sort of make it a little bit harder for defenders to guess who they're going to mark and who, you know. I really like that about Gary O'Neill's Wolves. They're very adaptable to different things, and I think that's a really strong point about Gary's game. But yeah, sorry I left the formation out to this point of the video, but hey, there we go. We've done the first half. We've done the formation. Let's talk about that all-important second half. Now, obviously, Wolves went in after the first half, 1-0 up. Fantastic. That's another thing that we haven't seen too much this season is Wolves going in half-time leading the charge and giving Molineux a little bit of something to look forward to coming back out in the second, because we did show a little bit of sign of improvement throughout that first half, and it might have been the players getting used to the system, because Santi Bueno obviously was injured to play today, so we had to play with a sort of strange system where centre backs changed roles to go wide, and Lemina cut back a lot to defend if a centre back got caught out of position or whatever, and it did work, to be fair. I didn't like how deep Lemina was in the first half, but I think in the second half, that's what really changed, is that we started to become a very solid unit as a back four. And yeah, okay, they made mistakes and everything, but I was actually pleasantly surprised with how Kilman and Totti handled things on their own as a back four unit. Now, we've not been able to see that at all. Very, very rarely we've played a back four and looked anything but not convincing. And I thought both of them showed a good account for themselves, really. And you know me, I'm a bloody Kilman hater by all accounts with how he's performed this tail end of the season. But credit where it's due. I'm not a bullshitter. I'll tell you if a player deserves what they get, whether that's good things or bad things. And I think Kilman probably deserves some good things. I'm going to talk about those obviously after. But in terms of the second half, you can see, it's a little bit more even in ball possession. But that was really only when they'd scored that goal. Before they scored their first goal, Wolves were 2-0 up at that point, and that really did affect the possession, as you can see here. So don't let that kind of fool you if you didn't watch the game. It was very much a Wolves performance in that second half. Luton very much took it off their foot off the gas, and Wolves started showing a little bit more quality, which again we haven't seen very often at this tail end of the season, and it was really, really good to watch. It gave the South Bank something to sing about. We were singing about different players who were performing really well, and just a lot of joyous smiles and stuff around. I could see a lot of happiness, and I think that's been missing for quite some time, probably since the Coventry game, to be fair. Maybe you could argue the Forest game, we probably saw a bit of about Wolves then as well, but really today was one of those games I think that Gary O'Neill will be really proud of the team, just because he really created, they really created rather, a very happy atmosphere that's been really missing just lately. There's been a lot of toxicity around Molineux, and rightly so, with the likes of VAR and everything. But thankfully, VAR didn't get involved too much today, which is great. But at the same time, it did give Wolves a lot to sing about. So every time we scored a goal, again, we'll talk about that second goal in a minute. Every time Wolves scored a goal, we celebrated it like normal, maybe a little bit subdued because of what's going on at the moment, after that Bournemouth goal got disallowed. But yeah, we were subdued celebrations. Then all of a sudden, we're going, ooh, before the referee finally blew his whistle to clarify that it was a goal or not, and then an almighty celebration, and then a lot of FVAR chants as well. So it was nice to see us sort of take it for a little bit of a joke, really, even though it's a very serious situation that's going on in the Premier League at the moment, and not just for Wolves. All teams have suffered through VAR. It was nice to see Wolves today, especially the fans, just have a little bit of fun about the situation, and it was cool. It was very English of us, you know what I mean? It's very dry sense of humour that probably some of the foreign players probably don't realise, the sarcasm that goes into some of the chants that come out of the South Bank and everything, and it was quite funny, to be fair. But yeah, we played a lot better in that second half. There was some spells of football as well that really, really got, some gasps out of the crowd, because there was some really good link-up play. I really, really was impressed with that second half performance in general. There was a lot to be applauded. There was some really strong defending. Thought Boubacar Traore was absolutely phenomenal. And I will talk about the player scores, of course, but if I'm talking about that second half and I think about a player that really stood out for me, Boubacar Traore was just absolutely everywhere, and he deserved that goal from that massive bloody strike. He's absolutely almighty hit that that would have been great, and he would have deserved that for sure. But yeah, as you can see from the stats here, talked about the possession, but even total shots went up. We got some big chances as well, and there were some huge chances before we finally got that second goal. We were getting into some phenomenal positions, really cutting Luton up, and showing some really positive attacking play from Wolves, getting our fullbacks, full up the pitch, and almost like creating, overloads, which I've not seen us do very often. Involving wingers, wing backs, and your midfielders getting up to win the ball. And ultimately, why did we win that second half? Why did we win this match? What made us win this match more than any other match for a while? I'd say for quite some time. And I'll tell you what it was, guys. It was because we were winning second balls. We were winning the second balls. If we lost a ball, up until when Sarabia come on, by the way, but we'll talk about that. Every single player who lost a ball ran straight at wherever the source of that issue came from and tried to get the ball back. And I saw a lot of, really, really admirable play from some of the Wolves players today, showing some fantastic defending and covering some ground as well to get to that last man and just ensure that you make it as hard as possible for Luton, because we've been so guilty of making it too easy for teams to get through to us and opening too much space up. And today, there was none of that at all, especially in that second half. Arguably, you could probably say after they scored, there was a little bit of that, but that kind of happens, doesn't it? A team starts to grow in momentum the longer the game goes on, and they've got a lot to play for, Luton, But as you can see, there's a lot of really, really good, some good XGs, not great XGs, of course, but for a team like Wolves at the moment, they're suffering to score goals. Even being anywhere near a 1 point XG is good, really. And probably over the the two halves, the XG was probably a little bit higher than that. But yeah, I was really impressed with Wolves today, guys. Let's talk about that second goal. So, Totti Gomez was, I don't know what was going on, but Semedo just gets completely out wide. And I think it might have been Hwang, actually, sorry. I can't even remember. It was such a crazy moment in the game. But basically, whoever gets wide, basically, gets to the byline. I can't remember who it was exactly, but he looks up, and who should he see there? Cunha? Yeah, maybe. Maybe one of the midfielders. Lemina likes to get forward a little bit. You've seen him score goals just recently. No, Totti Gomez was on the near post, ready to tap it in. From a bit of outplay, by the way. This wasn't during a corner, and we'll get to that in a second. This was a flowing move from Wolves, who completely overloaded the box with players. There was so many gold shirts to aim at, but the one that was really in contention to put it away was Totti Gomez. And that sounds ridiculous. Not only are we not playing a back five, so that's, already mental to see one of your centre backs that further forward. But we're playing a back four. And at that moment, we've got a high line with Kilman just chilling on the box, watching all this unfold. And you could call that risky from Toti Gomez. But you know what I call it? I call it having a bit about you and taking the game to the team. Yeah, it's risky. But at that point, really, we should be doing things to make it risky because we've been too guilty of leading a game and then letting them get back into it. And we almost did that again today. But what Toti Gomez did was create something from a situation where really he shouldn't be there. But because he is there, it forces the corner. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because the corner goes short to Ait Nouri. Ait Nouri plays it to Lamina. Lamina whips the ball in. And who should be there again but Toti Gomez with a diving header, and it's 2-0. And I just thought, there's no one that deserved that goal more at that moment because he just missed a goal. And I saw his face when he missed it. He wasn't like Wolves players, like I've seen recently, where they bash the ground and they strop about. You know, Sarabi, I'm looking at you. He was smiling his head off because he knows he's just created that corner from nothing. He knows that was almost a goal. Imagine if he scored that. I mean, it's fantastic he scored the header from the corner, but you expect that from your centre-backs. Imagine if he scored that from that flowing move. You'd be talking about that for days. It reminded me a little bit of Saiss. Saiss used to do that. Used to be in positions where, he'd put the ball away. And it's not his first goal, is it, Toti Gomez? I think he scored this season already, hasn't he? So there was a lot. I mean, we'll talk about the players at the end, says Dan, 13th time. Fantastic. What a goal. And what a time to score it as well. Because we really had Luton on the ropes at that point. And I've seen Wolves guilty of leading it and not really killing a game off and, not really putting a team to the sword. And today, we did that like crazy. After that goal went in, guys, the football that I saw was confident, flowing, teamwork as well. Like the passages of play and the awareness of the players and everything. It needs to be there more. If you're going to show it there, you need to show it more, guys, because it's there. If you're a team like Luton who struggles, then the fans probably won't get on your back so much because the world's against you. But when you show that level of football in those moments, it almost makes you think, why aren't we seeing that more often? And yeah, you could probably put it down to the personnel on the pitch. But then to some extent, I think it goes beyond that. It's definitely a confidence thing with Wolves. And I think Gary O'Neill's got to really drill it into them that you're not going to win every game. And you're not going to be, you're not going to have all the ball. Or, you're not going to just be a very good counter-attacking team. You've got to show it from the first whistle. And that's what I want to see now from Wolves for the rest of the season. I don't care if we lose to City and Liverpool or whatever. I'm not bothered about that. I just want to see Wolves, from the first whistle, give a shit and try. That's all I want now for the rest of the season. I'm happy with obviously getting more points to get us up, further up that table and whatever. But I saw a Wolves side today that showed that they're not out, that they're not on the beach. The sun tan is very much, The sun cream's very much still in the cupboard, and they're very much still, on the pitch doing their best. Some of them. Talk about that after. Yeah, guys, fantastic second half. They did pull one back, Luton, and there was. I mean, before we talk about that, there was so many opportunities where we should have scored goals. Semedo gets free on his own, and he's just got to square the ball to Hwang, and it would have been 2-0 then. Or maybe even 3-0. I'm not sure whether it came after the second goal or not. Now I'm thinking about it, but whatever it was, moments like that really with Semedo, like I think he heard his chant just before that, and he thought, you know what, my name's up in lights here. I love Wolves. I'm going to show them, and I love that. To be honest, I don't mind that really. Sometimes when you see a player, being a little bit selfish, but in an ideal sense of the word, really, there's some times where you can be selfish because you're in a better position. And with a better strike, that's a goal and no one's even thinking about it. What I haven't liked about certain players is when selfishness, is meant in a more negative term, where, you're not passing the ball out when you should, and we're under the cosh and we're not playing well. I think it's different if you're trying new things, but you're almost in command of the game. I think you can sort of be let off then, really. But yeah, I thought Wolves did a phenomenal job in the whole game. But that second half for me, up until when Luton scored, was some really positive football from Wolves, and I hope to see more of it. Luton did score, like I just said, from a set play. It looked really weird, actually, because it goes into the box and then Wolves clear it. It looks like it's going to go out, but it goes straight to the guy that just took the corner. And I was confused how that wasn't offside, because he was still literally right next to the flag. So there must have been a bunch of Wolves players on the line keeping him on. But anyway, the ball gets whipped in and it's headed pretty confidently. Really, really poor, really, from Wolves to not get that first ball. But that second ball, like I said at the start, we did show some really good signs where that second ball was ours every time. Every single time it was ours. And in this one instance, it wasn't. And it came to, was it Morris who scored the goal? Yeah. And he sort of half volleys it. And I think Sarr probably needs to do better, but I've looked at it back a few times now, and actually, it's one of those that's took all of them by surprise. I don't think they really thought that he was going to put that on target. It was a lot harder than people give that credit for, and I don't think Luton deserved to be back in the game at that point. But when you're up against a team like Luton who's fighting to stay up, that's going to happen, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And to be quite fair, after that goal goes in, they do show a little bit about themselves, and that's where this percentage I was talking about earlier, that's where that started to sort of get a little bit more even. But as I said earlier as well, you're going to see that, guys. That's just going to happen. If another team scores a goal and then puts them back into contention to get something out of the game, you're going to see a lot of determination from Luton, and thankfully they didn't do it enough to create too much of an issue, and then it's Wolves 2, Luton 1. So fantastic result for Wolves. Let's talk about the players. Some high scores here. So Sarr, when he was needed, some fantastic saves. I also liked how he claimed the ball a lot in the air, which was nice. I actually thought his distribution, other than a couple of times in the first half, looked pretty good, actually. Like I said, he was sort of a creator of that first goal, because he released Hwang into a situation where I don't think Luton were quite ready to get back in time. So, I think he did a good job. Probably over a 7. Yeah, that's probably a fair score for him. I thought Doherty was great again. Getting forward, but what I've really been impressed with Doherty just recently isn't even getting forward. It's his drive to win the ball. And we're going to talk about someone in a minute who doesn't do that at all. And to see Doherty do that literally the whole game, that's a really fantastic way of, getting yourself involved within the Wolves team, because, he hasn't had as many minutes as you probably thought he was going to get. And I really like that about Doc. I don't know about you guys, but you put yourself in the shoes of Doc. You're not getting much game time, and you've just come from Atletico Madrid in a Wolves side that's been struggling for like a defensive sort of stability. And then you put there just because basically there's a load of injuries and you've had to play Ait-Nouri further forward. And he's not really complained. I think he did a little bit. But what he's done phenomenally is, even though he's had those setbacks, every single time he's been called for, just recently at least, he's took it on himself to perform well. And I really like that about Doc. Toti Gomez, I am sick to death, and I'm really genuinely meaning this. From the start of the season to now, so many people that I talk to, and everyone has their entitled to their opinions, that's fair enough, but I've got to really state mine as well, that Toti Gomez is an incredibly good player. He's really good with his feet. He's not slow at getting back. He's pretty good on the turn. He's good in the air. And he scores goals. So I don't understand how people are saying that he's not that good. It actually puzzles me. There's not been many games where I think Toti Gomez hasn't performed really well. And he's been asked to do some sort of different positional changes as well, which, at the start of the season he probably wasn't aware of. But he was playing out wide. He's been getting further forward, and just awesome. Really good, really nice to see a player that's come from the grasshopper situation, and for a cheaper price, just doing really well. He's got into the Portugal 11 as well a few times now, and he's a lovely bloke as well. Really smiley, good with everybody. Just a really nice dude who I hope does well next season, and gets involved a lot more, and starts to shush some of these people that are saying nasty things about him, because he's next to Kilman, who he had a great. I think he probably had the best game he's had for a very long time today. He showed signs in the first half that some of the things I've been saying recently, have a bit of weight to him, because there was times where he was turning like when you've got a shopping trolley in Asda and it's got a dodgy wheel, and you didn't realise it because there's not a load of weight to the trolley. There's not enough in the trolley at the moment to sort of work that out. But then the second the trolley starts getting a bit heavy, and then you look down, and then that trolley wheel is just literally like this, trying to turn. You know who that is? That's Kilman. That's Kilman. So, yeah. Sometimes he was definitely guilty of that analogy for sure. Turning like an old shopping trolley. And sometimes as well, he does this thing where he leans on an attacker too much. And I feel like, I get that you're trying to get close to an attacker, so you're making it harder for him, but You're just inviting free kicks. I think sometimes, yeah, okay, he's trying to stop it at source, and that I sound kind of hypocritical for saying that, because at the start of the season and probably during the middle, he was guilty of running back a little bit and not really stopping it at source. And I get that he's trying to do that now, but I just think he's got to be cleaner with his tackles. But other than that, I do think Kilman had actually a decent performance. So, wow. I think that's the first time in a long time I've given Kilman a decent score. Don't really know why Semedo hasn't got over a 7, to be fair. Showed signs of getting forward a lot. Was unlucky to not get his own goal. And created some really good opportunities. And another thing I love about Semedo as well is he just makes that side his own. Because if you think about this side, you've got Doherty and Aït-Nouri here, yeah? And you've got Gomez as well. And all of these players can play where Doherty is, right? So every single time there was an issue on this side, they have to help one another every time. But do you know what happens here? He's on his own and he does it himself. And he don't need anybody else. And I love that. That side is just his bitch. And I absolutely love that about Semedo. There is not many players that really demand their, starting lineup. And Semedo, for me, is one of them that's just on the score sheet every time. On the team sheet every time. I wish he was on the score sheet every time. Traore is my man of the match. Do I agree Lemina's got it? To some degree, I think, Lemina did really well. But Boubacar Traore, for me, was a 9 out of 10. And the only reason he didn't get a 10 is because he didn't score his goal when he blasted it one. Because other than that, he covered every blade of grass. He made some extremely good time tackles to break up play. He won loads of second balls when the ball was bobbling around in the midfield if Gomez and Lemina were arsing about with it too much. And he showed a lot of intelligence in finding paths forward. He was essentially the all-around midfielder. And he was the best player on the pitch. And he was phenomenal. And the last couple of games, when he's come on, I said today to the Wolfpack guys, he deserves a start today. He deserves a start. Before the lineup even came out, I said, Boubacar Traore deserves a start. And Tawanda Traore as well probably deserved some minutes as well today, but that's another thing. But I thought Boubacar Traore thought today, you know what? Gary's starting me, and I ain't going to let him down. And I bloody love that. And there were so many times in this game where he did something, and I just applauded. Because his work rate and his ability to just become an absolute engine in that midfield was so commendable. And again, he's another one of those players that goes under the radar. Like, I sit next to a lot of people when I go to Molineux, because I like to change around and talk to different people and get different perspectives. And a lot of perspectives around him, I don't think are fair. People think he's rash. People think, he's got a mistake in him. He's just gone down to 6.9. Can I score him? I need to score him. I'm going to find out at the end how to score the players, because that is shocking. That is shocking. It was not a 6.9 by any stretch. Phenomenal player. And like I was just saying, there's been so many times that I've sat next to people at Molineux and they've turned around and said he's rash and he needs game time. And I agree with some of that, but bloody hell, he's not really had much opportunity. And when he has had opportunity, has he ever really squandered it? Because I can't think of many times where he's squandered an opportunity. You can't do a lot when you're not on the field. And when he has been on the field, he's been bloody great. Especially in the last few games. I've seen enough with him. Honestly, I've seen enough with him to say, you know what? If Joe Gomez does go, he's not far off Joe Gomez if he pulls out levels like that today, like he did today, as many times as Joe Gomez and finds a few more goals. He's got it in him to be just as good as Joe Gomez. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, what the hell are you on about? It's all opinion, I get it. But in my opinion, Traore today, man of the match. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Joe Gomez. Just an all-around performance from him as well, but him and Lamina, did really, really well. Great assist for Lamina, of course. But with Joe Gomez, just one of those where you don't have to think about it too much. He just did his thing, Got a nice little chant at the end as well, which I haven't heard before, which is the here, he's there, every fucking where, Joe Gomez, which I really liked. And Mario Lamina, he gets the man of the match for the FOTMob site. And he does get about, and he's very expressive in the way that, he's not really bothered at what kind of situation he plays in. He just wants game time, and I do really like that from him, to be fair. And he did a really, really good job. Hwang Yi-chan was, for the first time in a long time, take the goal out of the situation, okay? Take the goal out of the situation, okay? He was still really good. Even if you take the goal out of the situation, okay, and it's just, someone else scores it, he was phenomenal. Because what I liked about Hwang today, his running was a lot more improved. His pace was so much better. He didn't go down as much either, because just recently, he did a little bit in the first half, but in that second half, he stayed on his feet, showed some strength, and played some players in, like Thankyou was doing really well, and deserved his goal, because, since the Asia Cup, he hasn't really been able to show how good he is, has he? And it's really unfortunate, because before the Asia Cup, he was a really good player for Wolves, and he was our best goal scorer, and he was the guy that you knew he knew how to put a goal away, and for a while he hasn't been able to do that, and just showing that today, meant the world, really. So really, really good work by Hwang, and hopefully he keeps this up now till the end of the season, and then goes into a pre-season to Gary O'Neill, thinking, you know what, got a good goal scorer there. Cunha, unbelievable again. Sometimes he wasn't playing in the middle, and Hwang did that instead. And I honestly thought, what I really like about Cunha is he's got so much strength on the ball. He doesn't look like, he's a tall, kind of gangly guy. He doesn't really look like he'd have much strength on him, but you could see him literally just holding the ball up so well at points. And just a really good performance again, really good assist, and just overly really, really happy to see Cunha doing his thing again. Got a couple of chants again today from the South Bank, which was nice. And at one point as well, I could see him actually starting to dance along to his chant, which was really cool. I just think he really loves Wolves, and we've said that a few times on the Wolfpack, but when you've got a player like that who loves to be here, it's just a joy to watch him. You know what I mean? And Ait-Nouri is another one of those, and we'll talk about him now. Rayan Ait-Nouri is the one player that I want to keep at this club. Because I said this jokingly to a couple of people today who sat next to me in the South Bank. I said, imagine this Wolves team if you just copied and pasted Ait-Nouri's all over the pitch, because he can play in any position. He's scored enough goals this season to think, you know what, he's better at being in that forward line. But then today, you saw again when Doherty was, you know, out of position, which wasn't sometimes it wasn't really his fault. He was just that's the kind of thing you're going to get with Doherty. He's going to get forward and risk it a little bit more. And what I love about Ait-Nouri is he just gets back and he does all the dirty work. And he just brushes himself off after sliding in. And then just goes, yeah, I'm just going to carry on. Phenomenal. What a player. We need to hold on to Ait-Nouri, man. Over everybody. Over Neto. Over Joe Gomez. Ait-Nouri is a awesome player. I'm really excited to see him on FC 25 or whatever, FIFA, you know, for those that don't know that they've changed to FC. I'm really excited to see him on FC 2025 because he's one of those players where I think the game's going to struggle to determine where you're going to put him because he's got so many attributes that it's just insane. He shouldn't be at Wolves, really. If you think about the style of player he is, he gets in any team. Phenomenal, again. But for me today, I don't care what this score says, 6.9. That's a load of bullshit. Boubacar Traoré is my man of the match. Fantastic player. Love him to pieces. Love him. Just wanted him to score. That's all I wanted him to do today, was just score that goal at the end. Fantastic work from the boys. And yeah, let's see where that leaves us in the table. So it's actually moved us into the top half of the table, guys, which is fantastic. Good to see that. Love that. You know, Palace didn't manage to get a win today. Fulham didn't manage to get a win today. Brighton are struggling at the moment. Obviously, Bournemouth play tomorrow. But up until that, Wolves are looking, you know, in a really decent situation. I mean, if Chelsea lose today, which they're just about to kick off to Villa, so come on Villa, they're catchable, you know. And then you look after that, West Ham, you know, they're doing pretty well. Newcastle flying high, and, you know, United absolutely shocking at the moment. There's some moments left in this season where Wolves could still get in a decent little situation. So yeah, I'm really, really, really happy with the performance today. And if any Luton fans are watching this, I really hope you guys don't go down. I really hope it's Sheffield United, Burnley, and Forest. I just think you fought a lot harder than Forest, in my opinion. Just shown a lot more. Based on your size, based on the club, based on the manager, based on all these things, Forest have got a way bigger squad than you. But, you know, you're only a point away from them. So, really, really good fan base as well, Luton. I'm really hoping they stay up. And really good luck for the rest of the season, guys. Honestly, I mean that. Even if we'd have lost today, I like a club in which has a bit of history about it. And you could argue Forest have that as well. Come on. They've got a history as well, for sure. But have a little bit of a story about them as well, you know. And I love Rob Edwards as well. I've met him loads of times and he's such a lovely guy. So yeah, I really, really want Luton to stay up. And you could argue that, okay, Forest have got Nuno and I love Nuno, but you know, just at the moment, I don't like how Forest are with Wolves. You know, I don't think Wolves are particularly shitty to Forest. I just think Forest fans hate Wolves because of the antics of a certain Gibbs White. But yeah, we've talked about that enough. Bloody hell, let's not talk about that again. Jesus Christ. So yes, guys, if you've enjoyed that video, thank you very, very much for being here. I've seen a little bit of an influx in subscriptions over the course of the last couple of weeks. So thank you so much for that. Please keep that up. We really want to aim aim big now for the rest of the season. We've got a lot planned before the end of the season, and a load going forward as well. You know, we've got some really cool people coming in and helping out now as well. And you'll get to meet those guys as well. And a massive shout out as well, because I don't really think they really get enough credit to all of the other boys as well that that are in the Wolfpack, that, you know, post your news on Facebook, your news on your Twitter, your news on Instagram and everything. They're all different people. And we've also got a Facebook group as well, and there's people that are, you know, designated to those areas. And what I really love about the Wolfpack is that we really are a pack. You know, we are all in it for the same reasons, and we're all sort of doing our own thing. You know, there's a lot of freedom there, and I'm just really proud to be part of that now. And I really hope you guys support us in as many ways as possible. So there's going to be a little thing that's down in the description that's going to say where you find us on Facebook, where you find us on all these different social medias. So go over there, like, follow, do all the fun things, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and do all of those really cool things like sharing to your friends as well. It sounds like I'm repeating myself. It sounds like being that particular guy that, you know, you all dread at the end of these videos, but it really goes such a long way, because we've all got our, you know, jobs outside of this, and we've all got our own things. You know, we only do this voluntarily to really, you know, emphasize how amazing Wolves are of a club and as a community. And I just really appreciate everybody getting involved in that, and I really want it to keep going, basically. But yes, come on the Wolves. Finally, we've got 3 huge points. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one in a bit.